how to find your identity in Christ and how to like develop your relationship with him and stuff before getting into a relationship. And I just want to say a quick intro to anybody who's new here. Hello, my name is Emma. I am the person who runs this YouTube channel as well as the written and Instagram blog Tea and God, as you probably had guessed. But I just hope that you guys enjoy this video, and thank you for clicking on it. And again, if you guys are new, welcome back. Thank you guys so much for tuning back into this series, and I hope you guys have been enjoying it so far. Before we get diving into our Psalm of the day, I just want to tell you about our fancy smancy tea of the day here. I am using one of my favorite teacups ever. It's my little like purple floral one. There we go. My little purple floral one from one of the antique stores, and I just love it. But our tea of the day today is Celestial Seasonings Chamomile tea, and I got this one in their sampler pack. It's been pretty good so far. I like their honey vanilla chamomile, I think is what it is. I like that one a little better than this one, but this one's still decent. But it is a really good one for if you're just feeling really stressed out. It just kind of helps relax you and everything, which with school starting back up, it has been a little stressful and chaotic lately. But sorry for rambling. Let's dive right on into our Psalm of the day, and then we will get into the book / chapters and verses that we will be doing for our study today. Our Psalm of the day today is going to be Psalms 34, and I'm just going to read different sections from the psalm that I think are important, which this one is most of the whole psalm. So starting right into verse 1 of Psalm 34, it says, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul makes its boast in the Lord. Let the humble hear and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. And I think that it's really important for us as Christians to boast and magnify God and his work in our lives. And then continuing into verses 4 and 5, it says, I sought the Lord, and he answered me, and delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to him are radiant, and their faces shall never be ashamed. And I think it's just I love those verses because I love the word radiant. I think that as Christians, and especially as Christian women, we need to allow ourselves to be made radiant by our transformation in Christ. Not worry so much about our outward appearance, but instead let the love and the light inside of us shine out. Into verse 7 it says, the angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. And I think that's really cool to think that like God is always protecting us, like, because obviously we know that, but it's cool to like have that in words. Verse 10 says, the young lions suffer want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. And I think that that one's awesome because that reminds us that when we're truly seeking the Lord, we will truly bear so many of the fruits of the Spirit in our life. There we go. Sorry. So continuing into verse 11, it reminds us, and it says, come, O children, listen to me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. And it's important to remind ourselves that we need to be teaching others about God and about how fantastic and wonderful he is. And then I love verse 14 because it says, turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. And I think that when it says seek peace, it's really awesome because when you think about it, God is perfect peace. So when you're seeking him, you are going to be getting peace. Verses 17 and 18 again are verses that I think are really key and really important. They say, when the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and delivers them out of all their troubles. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. I'm also going to continue on to verse 19, which says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. And I think that it's really important for us to remember that his way of delivering us might not be the way that we want it to. It might not be the answer that we've been praying for, but he's still be getting us out of the situation. And it's also important for us to remember that in those times when it's not what we necessarily want, it's going to be serving God's purpose. So even if we don't see the reason for it at the time, it will make sense when we look back on it later. Now that we have my little ramblings on Psalms out of the way for today, we're going to continue where we left off last week in Song of Psalms 4. We're going to continue into Song of Solomon chapter 5 and 6 today because I think we'll have enough time for both of those because you guys have been wanting longer videos. So let's see. Starting in verse 1 of chapter 5, it says, and the man is speaking, he says, I came to my garden, my sister, my bride. I gathered my myrrh and my spice. I ate my honeycomb with my honey. I drank my wine with my milk. And then others are speaking and they say, eat, friends, drink, and be drunk with love. And then she is speaking now and it says, I slept, my heart was awake. A sound, my beloved is knocking. Open to me, my sister, my love, my dove, my perfect one. For his head is wet with dew. Sorry, for my head is wet with dew, my locks with the drops of night. I had put off my garment. How could I put it on? I had bathed my feet. How could I soil them? My beloved put his hand to the latch, and my heart was thrilled within me. And I'm going to pause there. We just finished verse 4. But I want to highlight in verse 2 how the man is speaking to the woman. He says, my sister, my love, my dove, my perfect one. And I think that, again, I know I've said this in past videos in this series, but when you're dating someone, it should be completely obvious to you how much they cherish you. If you are having to, wonder, like, do they actually care? Like, is there, like, are they even interested? Like, if you have to keep asking yourself these questions, you need to bring it up to your partner, and if they can't answer it for you, it's not worth it. Like, when you are in a God-honoring relationship, you both should be so in love with each other that you find each other as, like, not, like, how do I word this? You're not gonna, obviously, all of us humans are fallen, because that's what we are. We're fallen creatures. But when you are dating someone in a God-honoring relationship, you're going to see them as, the perfect one for you. When it says my perfect one, it's not saying, oh, she's perfect. It's saying that she's the perfect one for me. We are perfectly made for each other. So in that sense, when you're dating someone, they should be feeling that way about you, as well as you feeling that way about them, because that is truly what a good partnership is when you see each other as the most suited for each other in a pair. And then also, I love verse 4 because it reminds us that we should be excited to be able to spend time with whoever we're in a relationship with. If you are feeling anxiety or fear or anything like that before you are going to, like, spend time with your partner, that's a huge red flag. And that's something that I feel like as women, a lot of us tend to ignore because we're almost more afraid of being alone than being in a relationship with someone who kind of doesn't make us feel excited. Not necessarily excited to see them, but we feel a little bit of nervousness before we see them, because a little bit of nervousness is good, but when it's like worry more so than, oh, I'm a little, like, anxious about, like, seeing them, whatever, like, that's kind of different. So hopefully that made sense. Sorry. Continuing into verse 5, though, it says, I arose to open to my beloved, and my hands dripped with myrrh, my fingers with liquid myrrh on the handle of the bolt. I opened to my beloved, but my beloved had turned and gone. My soul failed me when he spoke. I sought him, but found him not. I called to him, but gave no answer. And I'm going to pause there because I think that verse 6 is really important in reminding us that we cannot let our partner forget how much we care about them, and vice versa. When you are in a relationship, it can be really easy to just get into a routine where you're doing things because that's how you guys have done them, and you kind of forget that you guys are with each other by choice, and it's not just something that's part of, your routine. And that being said, it's really important to remind our partners how much we care about them, and, that they are a valuable piece of our life, and that we do really cherish them, because it is, like, when you're in a relationship, if you aren't having those, not necessarily like those words being said, but, reminders of those things, it can be really difficult to feel like you are a valued piece of that person's life, if that makes sense. And also in the same way, if you are single right now and you have, like, if you have someone that is seeking a God-honoring relationship or seeking a similar relationship to you, and they keep putting in the effort and trying to get in and, like, knocking on the door and everything, but you just, like, are really slow to get back to them, it's important to remember that they might just get tired and leave. Like, it's really important to remind ourselves and to remember, especially as women, that, if somebody is pursuing you and you are interested in them, and you're single, obviously, it's important to also show that interest back, because there comes a point where if someone is just going after someone, and that person isn't reciprocating at all, they're going to probably get tired and give up, like how the man left, and obviously in this he's going to come back, but, it's not necessarily they're always going to be there, and that's something that you need to remember if you are interested in pursuing a relationship with that person, is to do so when the time is right, and not when, like, hopefully that makes sense. Like, don't put it off if it's something that would work if it would work in the moment. Don't keep putting it off, because it might not be there later. And that goes with so many different opportunities in life. If you get an opportunity that you've been wanting forever, don't turn it down just because, oh, well, I don't know if I can do that right now. If it's something you've always wanted, take it when you can have it, because you might not come up again later. So in that sense, that's both valuable in a relationship and in your own life in general. When you are presented with opportunities and options that you didn't think would be available to you or didn't think would be available to you at the time that they are, if you feel ready to take on those things, do it, because it might not come back around again. Sorry, that was a tangential conversation. Anyways, continuing into verse 7, it says, "The watchmen found me as they went about in the city. They beat me, they bruised me. They took away my veil, those watchmen at the walls. I assure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, if you find my beloved, that you tell him I am sick with love." And I kind of want to highlight verse 7 for a minute, because I feel like as women, it can be difficult for us sometimes, because we can go out into the world and be hurt by, like, both women and men. But since this is more geared towards women, to go out into the world and be hurt by people who don't understand us as well, or don't, like, if you want a more traditional life, it can be easy for us to go out and be beaten and bruised by people who don't understand why you would want that, or to be, to go out on a date with someone and have them not understand that and kind of beat and bruise you down in that sense. I don't think that's what, this is specifically talking about, but that is something that, again, is important to remember, and it's important for us to remind ourselves that our goals and our dreams and our heart's desires, in a sense, like, depending on what they are valid, because if it's something, like, if your life dream is to do something, that it's probably something that God has placed on your heart, and really it has given you that dream for a purpose. And so in that sense, it's important for us to not get discouraged and to, not give up on things, because when it's God's will, it's going to happen in some way, shape, or form. So hopefully that made sense. But sorry, continuing into verse 9, the others are speaking now, and it says, "What is your beloved more than another beloved, O most beautiful among women? What is your beloved more than another beloved that you thus adjure us?" And I think that's extremely important, with that question that is asked. Why is your beloved more important? Why is he more valuable, or whatever? You should be able to answer that question when you are entering into a relationship, or when you are in a relationship with someone. You should be able to answer the question when someone asks, well, why are you dating them and not Bobby? You should be able to be like, well, Tom, I don't know. We have Tom and Bobby. Tom is the one you're dating. Bobby's Bobby down the street. But, you should be able to answer why Tom is the person that you are choosing to be in a relationship with, and why he's better in your mind than Bobby, even if Bobby is a great, upstanding person as well. Continuing into verse 10, it says, and she is speaking now. She says, "My beloved is radiant and ruddy, distinguished among 10,000. His head is the finest gold, his locks are wavy, black as a raven, his eyes are like doves beside streams of water, are bathed in milk, sitting beside a full pool. His cheeks are like beds of spices, mounds of sweet-smelling herbs, his lips are lilies, dripping liquid myrrh. His arms are rods of gold, set with jewels. His body is polished ivory, bedecked with sapphires. His legs are alabaster columns set on bases of gold. His appearance is like Lebanon, choice as the cedars. His mouth is most sweet, and he is altogether desirable. This is my beloved, and this is my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem." And I think that set of verses, I just finished verse 16 and just finished chapter 5, they're important because they remind us that it's okay and it's important to be praising and complimenting your partner. If someone, when someone asks you that question, you shouldn't be kind of stuck with an answer. You should be able to answer confidently why they are the perfect person for you, why you are excited to be dating them, why you are blessed to have them in your life. And it's also important to not just say those things when you're asked by other people, but to remind your partner of these things as you progress in your relationship. It is extremely important that your partner knows how much you value and care for them, because that's truly what's going to help your relationship to flourish. If one partner is feeling like they aren't truly valued, or that they aren't valued and cherished by the other person, and it's going to be a lot harder for them to love the other person fully if they feel do they even like me? Do they actually care about me? You know what I mean? In that sense, it's important to be reaffirming to your partner how much they mean to you throughout the relationship, and not just in the honeymoon phase. Hopefully that makes sense. I also think that verse 16 is extremely important when it says, "This is my beloved and this is my friend." Your partner should be your best friend and your romantic partner. It shouldn't be, oh, you know, we're just like, he's my like boyfriend and whatever, but we aren't really like friends, I guess. Like, obviously when you're in a relationship, that's kind of an obvious factor that should be put into it, but I feel like a lot of times we kind of forget that, and forget that your partner is should be one of your closest friends, if not like your best friend, because if you're pursuing marriage, you're gonna be stuck with this person forever. Like, marriage isn't, going to the car dealership and just test driving a car. No, marriage is when you sign the contract to buy a car that you are going to be stuck with until, one of you dies. Like, you know what I mean? I guess in that sense, it should, it's something obvious, but so many times I feel like we forget that little simple fact that your partner is someone you're going to be with forever. And so you need to make sure that you can get along with them as a friend as well as a romantic partner. Because if you don't have that friendship as a base, it's going to be a lot harder when, storms in life come if you can't relate to each other on a friendship level as well. Because, that's kind of an important aspect of any relationship, is being able to be friends with that person. Sorry, that was a tangent again, but continuing into chapter 6, starting in verse 1, it says, "Where has your beloved gone, O most beautiful among women? Where has your beloved turned, that we may seek him with you?" And I just want to pause that, because the others, when they speak, they usually refer to her as the most beautiful among women. And I think that it's kind of important because in chapter 1, she's talking, the woman herself is saying, "Please don't look at me because I'm dark. Like, I am beautiful even though I'm dark." So by society standards at the time, she was not the most beautiful person. When they're saying that she's the most beautiful, at least the way that I've been interpreting it, is that she's beautiful because of her faith and because of her confidence. She's confident in how she looks, even if she doesn't meet society's standards for beauty at the time. So in that sense, that should be something that is let me back up. That is something that will be extremely attractive to any potential partner, is the fact that you are confident in yourself, and you're not going to be overbearing about it, obviously, but you're confident enough in yourself to be like, "Hey, I'm not a piece of trash. I have value. I have worth. I'm not chaff to be thrown into the wind, but I can do these things. I'm talented at these things. I have a passion in these areas. I have these skills that will be useful when we are in a relationship down the line." Hopefully that makes sense. So continuing into verse 2, it says, and the woman is speaking here, "My beloved has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices, to graze in the gardens and to gather lilies. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He grazes among the lilies." And I just want to pause there, because again, and I know I touched on this in another one of these videos, you and your partner should be claiming each other and not be afraid to do so. If you are dating someone and they don't really want to claim you as their own, that's something you need to ask them about and kind of touch on, because that's kind of an issue. If your partner is ashamed in any way, shape, or form to be like, "That's my woman," or if you're a man, "That's my man," that's an issue. You know what I mean? Your partner should be proud to call you their own. Continuing into verse 4, now the man is speaking, and he says, "You are beautiful as Tirzah, my love. Lovely as Jerusalem, awesome as an army with banners. Turn away your eyes from me, for they overwhelm me. Your hair is like a flock of goats leaping down the slopes of Gilead." And I was going to pause there really quick. Obviously, compliments have kind of changed over the years, and, normally a guy isn't going to tell you you're as beautiful as a city. But I think that it's really important, I think it's really romantic, not important, but romantic here when he says in verse 5, "Turn away your eyes from me, they overwhelm me." In a sense, your partner should be a little bit overwhelmed by you. Not in the sense that "Oh my gosh, she is okay, I'm a little overwhelmed here," but in the sense that he's so overcome with love for you that it's "Oh my gosh, stop." You're hopefully that makes sense. You're going to make him feel a certain way, and that's going to be something that's overwhelming. Not necessarily in our typical use of the word overwhelming, but, he should be "Oh my gosh, that's my woman, oh, I can't believe that's my girl, oh man, ooh, I can't, she's just, in that sense, that's how he should be acting. And so if, again, obviously, we're gonna have ups and downs in relationships, but if that's not something that is made obvious to you, talk to your partner about it, because the worst thing you can do in a relationship is let problems, sit and fester and not bring them into the light. That's, in any relationship in your life, whether it's a friendship, a family thing, romantic, just deal with problems as they come up and not, oh, it's fine. I'll put it over here. It's okay. It's okay. I'll deal with it later. It's fine. I'll deal. Trust me. It's not the way to go. It just is going to fester and boil and become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when it does come up, you're going to have all these thoughts on it when they probably didn't even realize it was an issue. So they're going to be like, what? Like that what? So in that sense, bring it up when it happens and not wait forever to deal with it. That was a really random tangent. I'm sorry. Oh well. See, the beautiful thing about these videos is this is how my conversations with friends goes. We have tangents. So in my mind, our tea chats about Jesus and stuff, it's like a conversation with a friend. You're gonna have tangential conversations. So, returning back from where we went, we're gonna continue into verse 6 of chapter 6, which says, "Your teeth are like a flock of ewes that have come out from the washing. All of them bear twins. Not one of them has lost its young. Your cheeks are like halves of a pomegranate behind your veil. There are 60 queens and 80 concubines and virgins without number. My dove, my perfect one, is the only one, the only of her mother, pure to her who bore her. The young women saw her and called her blessed. The queens and concubines also, they praised her." And I love verse 9 because, again, to your partner, you are going to be the perfect one for them to them. They are going to cherish you and see you as this amazing person that's like, oh my gosh, I am so lucky to have her. And if your partner or you don't feel lucky to have you or your partner, depending, really reevaluate that and like kind of check in with yourself and check in with them and be like, hey, like I've been noticing this, or like this kind of seems like this, because really you should be so cherishing and in love with each other that you can only ever see yourself with that person because that's the person that's perfect for you. So continuing into verse 10, it says, "Who is this who looks like the dawn, beautiful as the moon, bright as the sun, awesome as an army with many banners?" And verse 10 is again important because to him, you're going to be the most beautiful woman in the world. Even if, again, like how in chapter 1, she's talking about how she's not beautiful by society standards. Even if you aren't beautiful by society's beauty, to the person you are in a relationship with and vice versa, they're going to be the most attractive person in the world. And obviously, like, you might, like, if that makes sense, like, they might still recognize someone else's beauty, but you are the one that's the most beautiful to them, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Continuing into verses 11 through 13, it says, "I went down to the nut orchard." She is speaking in verse 11. "I went down to the nut orchard to look at the blossoms of the valley, to see whether the vines had budded, whether the pomegranates were in blossom. Before I was aware, my desire set me among the chariots of my kinsman, a prince." And then others are speaking, and it says, "Return, return, O Shulamite. Return, return, that we may look upon you." And then he is speaking, "Why should you look upon the Shulamite as upon a dance before two armies?" And I don't really have any thoughts on those last three. I was kind of hoping I would come up with something as I was reading them, but I didn't. So, in summary, I guess, for today's longish video, I just want you guys to remember just, a few key things. Let me look at my notes real quick. So, key things to remember from today's study that we did on Song of Solomon, chapter 5 and chapter 6. Chapter 5 reminds us that we should be excited to be able to spend time with our partner, which is again something that should be obvious, but sometimes we forget when we get into the routine of a relationship. We should also, again, not let our partner ever forget how much we truly care about them. Because, again, when we get into the routine of a relationship, it can be really easy to kind of, like, let that slide. It can be really easy to let compliments and, doing sweet things for each other. It can be easy to let that slide because you're in the routine, and so you aren't even thinking about it. But don't let that slide. Keep your partner, remind them how much they mean to you. And then another thing, you should be able to, let me shift really quick. You should be able to tell people why your partner is the best person to have as a partner. If you are asked that question and you can't answer it, check in with yourself and see why you can't answer that question. And then also, don't be afraid to praise your partner. And they also, and vice versa, shouldn't be afraid to praise you, because that's how you're going to keep encouraging each other and reminding each other how much that you guys care about each other. Sorry, I think there. And then chapter 5 at the end again reminds us that your partner should not only be your lover, but also be your friend. Because when the storms of life do come, you're going to need that best friend to lean back on, and that should be your partner. Now, verse 6 teaches us a handful of things, but the two that I really wanted to focus on is that the woman in this book, she's not necessarily beautiful by society's standard, but she is beautiful because of her faith in Christ and because of her identity in him, because she's sure in it, as well as the fact that she is sure in herself. She is sure in her emotions and like her personality and everything, but she is also sure in her looks, even though she isn't beautiful necessarily by society's standard. And then in closing, I also just think that it's important for us to remember that to your partner and your partner to you, they should be the most attractive person to you. Because if that's not, that's something you need to check in with yourself. Because, I mean, obviously, we all are going to have those days. We aren't looking our best. We're looking a little rough. But it should still be that underlying love that makes them the most attractive, even if to somebody else they aren't going to be attractive. You know what I mean? So hopefully that wasn't too long, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that video, or that study that we just did. But yeah, I don't know. I hope you guys have been enjoying this so far. Again, as always, if you guys have been enjoying this series, and especially this video, please feel free to leave a like on it. And if you are new here, we have other videos in this series that will be linked probably somewhere on the screen or down below. But they are on the channel, so if you can't find them, just look for the playlist that's something about like identity in Christ in a relationship or something along those lines. It's on there somewhere. But yes, I hope you guys have been enjoying the series, and if you guys know somebody that could benefit from these videos, please feel free to send them over to them. And if you are new here and you have been enjoying this one and you stuck around for this long, firstly, thank you for sticking around, as well as all you old subscribers. Thank you for sticking around. It means a lot to me. But yeah, if you guys have been enjoying, please feel free to subscribe and like the video. And if you guys want more content like this, I do post about 5 or 6 Instagram posts a week, and I am fairly active on my story on Instagram, as well as we are writing a written blog, so there is that as well. But I think that was it for my announcements and stuff today. But as always, if you guys leave this video knowing nothing else, I hope you guys leave knowing just how cherished and loved and precious you are to the God that created you. And I will see you guys either later this week in the next video or next week for next week's video. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye guys!